Okay guys, so in this video we're going to cover overhead mobility and look at some corrections if this is an area in which you struggle with. So let's look at the problem. Oftentimes this is common in beginners, but you might find you have an individual who, when you press overhead, they can't fully straighten out their arms like this. They get to about here and they feel like something's stopping them. And now this might feel like it's a shoulder mobility issue, but the cause could potentially be, or is likely to be, the lats in this situation, where you're trying to press overhead and the lats, these muscles here, are pulling you down, okay? Another example of lack of mobility when pressing overhead is when you're trying to do a military press and you're trying to press up and back, so the bar ends up over your head. You can see my elbow is almost aligned with my ear. Some people struggle getting their shoulder into position, and they might find they have to stop here, which means when they press, they kind of press a little bit forward, and they can't explain it and they can't help it. That would usually be a tight chest muscle that is pulling that arm forward like that, stopping them from being able to go from here all the way to here. Okay, so these are the areas in which we need to look at. It's not usually your shoulder, although in some rare cases there can be an issue in the shoulder itself. What I'd recommend is just having some very simple, quick stretches that you can do on a very frequent basis. You don't need a million obscure stretches, just some ones that you can hit, you can challenge, and you can do it frequently. Now, do understand that as you start to stretch a muscle frequently, you also need to be making sure that you're working hard in the gym to strengthen that muscle in the newly lengthened position. So if you're stretching out the chest to allow more freedom of movement, you also need to be challenging that muscle in the gym with more and more range of motion in order to challenge that muscle in a deeper lengthened position to sort of solidify the effect in which you're trying to achieve. So understand, with flexibility, it is not just stretches that help, it is also strengthening, and you ideally want to be doing both. Anyway, back to my point, chest stretches. The first one's very, very simple. You've probably seen it before. Let's get your hand on some form of post about chest height, and you're going to twist your body away and hold this, and over time you can feel the stretch accumulate across the chest here. Over time, as I was saying, you can twist your body more and more. Hold that for about 30 seconds, do about 2 sets each side, and that would be your first one I'd recommend. Now the second one, if we get a band, now what I want you to do is get a band that's sort of a fairly light to moderate resistance. You're going to hold it fairly wide outside shoulder width. You're going to stretch it over your head and try and push yourself back into position and almost feel the stretch in your chest as you do so. Now this is one that I would again shoot for about 30 seconds and do around 2 sets of that. Now, once you've covered that area, you've done 2 sets, about 30 seconds apiece, I would move on to stretching out your back, stretching out your lats. And a great way to do this is with some dead hangs on some form of pull-up bar, where you're just hanging and really letting your body weight anchor you to the floor. As you can see, it's really stretching out this whole area. This is probably one of the best that you can do, although grip might be a limiting factor for some people. A simple alternative might just be when you pull your arm over your head, lean into it, but really make sure that this hand is pulling on my left arm, in this example, and you can feel the stretch accumulate across your lats, which is the area we want to target. Second lat exercise, or this one really works with the chest as well, so if you're experiencing tightness in your chest, this will kind of cover both. But you want to get a foam roller and some form of resistance. You're going to lie with the foam roller underneath your upper back. You're going to get the resistance. You're going to keep a tall chest and stretch overhead, allowing the resistance to pull your arms down. With this one, it's quite tough, but we want to make sure that your core is braced, so you're squeezing your abs, You're keeping your arms nice and straight, and you just hold that position for about 30 seconds. Now, granted, it's not the most comfortable one, and as I've just demonstrated, talking can be quite difficult whilst performing it. But I'm going to give you a third stretch for your lats, and this one is a simple kneeling with an extended arm, holding onto the post, where you're going to pull your body weight back, using the post to almost stop you trying to get a big stretch in your lats. Now that's 5 examples. I would personally do all of those. And then, as I said, in the gym, take note of the improvements in the mobility over time. If you're doing these frequently, all of them for about 30 seconds, twice over each, you're making sure you're really challenging them. In the gym, you should progressively feel more and more range of motion being freed up. And it's important, as I said, to use that range of motion. So when you've got more range of motion in your chest, make sure you're coming down deeper with your dumbbells. That's just one example, but you get my point. More range of motion will strengthen those muscles in the lengthened positions and really solidify more of a permanent effect or benefit from the work that you're doing. So hopefully that makes sense. If you want any answers to any questions that you've got relating to anything that I've just covered, then please just shoot us a message, and that's it.